Stand still! My eyes are on the side of my head.
Okay.
Cut them down.
If they insist on a fight, I will oblige them.
I bring the storm.
Illuminate the enemy.
Guns blazing.
This battle will be won.
Get him, Tibbers!
Right between the eyes.
Sky, Sky, Skyner!
Hear that? Death's knocking.
All will drown.
Hello and welcome to another TribalMind's Champion Rundown. Greetings, summoners. TribalMind here, and this is the TribalMind Champion Rundown. Today we've got a guest host of Victor, who is actually going to sponsor this podcast to some degree.
Yes, hello everybody, my name is Victor from the Half Hour with Victor show. That's right, Victor, the best Victor, and the only Victor you should be listening to. Thank you for having me on today, Mr. TribalMind. It's very good to be here.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to have you.
So what are you doing?
I'm going to sort of go over champions. We'll do it like once a fortnight or so. We'll go through a champion, explain their abilities, explain what they do, how to play them, how to play against them, and just go over the generalness of the champion. We're not going to go through actual build paths because we want these to be a good idea of how to play the champion at any stage, not, 2 patches down the track, have them completely useless because I've told you a build path that doesn't exist anymore.
I like it. We're running down champions. Obviously, you must have prepared a champion for the day. Who are we looking at?
Today we're looking at probably one of my favourites as a support, Zyra, Rise of the Thorns. Wow. Strangest name on the end, but that happens. Okay, so we're going to go over Zyra. We'll go through her passive first. Now, her passive is called Rise of the Thorns. Zyra basically, when she dies, she gets a last final FU attack to anyone that does true damage. It's pretty much a single skill shot. If you can land it, you can do quite a good chunk of damage to someone. And you got to remember it's true damage as well, so it's really good for taking out a tanky target, even if they're still there, if you've managed to get them down low enough. Keep in mind this will also go through multiple people.
Yes. So if you can line up a good chunk of targets, so if you line up 3 or 4 of them, then that's perfect target. That's perfect way to shoot it.
And the thing is with Zyra as a support, most of the time you're going to be, once you've used all your abilities, you're effectively useless. So sometimes them killing you actually is an advantage because you've then got another attack.
Yes, so does this passive, it doesn't have a cooldown either?
No. She can pop up, revive, teleport straight back in and die again and use it right over. I wouldn't recommend that, but she can do it.
Awesome, so you don't need to be, oh no, I can't die because I don't know if I'll have my passive. No, you'll have it every time, whenever you need it.
Pretty much. Now, we're going to go straight on to her W, because that's pretty much the main set for a kit. It's called Rampant Growth, and this is basically seeds. Now, she only really can store 2 seeds at a time, and it takes her a fairly long time to store these seeds. It's about 17 seconds at early and about 13 once it's max. These seeds, on their own, don't do much. They give you a little bit of vision, about like a Teemo shroom size, and if someone walks over them, you can actually see them for a period of time, like the Caitlyn trap effect.
Yes.
You can use these seeds to scout, because you have a longer cast range on them than you do your wards. And also, you'll have them back all the time, so if you're out of wards and you're sitting in bot lane, it's nice to just chuck a seed down because at least you know they're not right there. Now, the key thing with the seeds is how it relates to the rest of her kit. So we're going to have to go over the other ones here. So first off, we got her Q. This is basically what you'd normally take first in the game, and it's called Deadly Bloom. It's this little circle of area that after about half a second or so does a chunk of damage of basically, a bunch of plants shoot out of the ground or something. It doesn't do a lot of damage on its own, but any one of the seeds that are within the area of the Deadly Bloom will actually turn into a plant that shoots ranged attacks. So the idea is you chuck some seeds down and then Deadly Bloom, and whoever you hit isn't just being hit by that initial attack, but you've got plants that are shooting at them as well.
And they last for a whole 10 seconds.
Yeah, thereabouts. 10 seconds sounds about right. The thing you got to keep in mind is these things being killed by enemies will actually give them a little bit of gold. Okay. So don't just throw them out willy-nilly if you're not going to do anything with them. Otherwise you're just giving an enemy ADC or something a bit of free farm. Now, the other ability is actually an E called Grasping Roots. This is the one you'd probably see most commonly. Basically, she throws out a line of roots from her standing point. It's got a fair amount of range on it, but is relatively slow. And anyone they hit, it will root them in place for a short period of time. Now, the trick with this is, again, the seeds, any seed hit by Grasping Roots will turn into a plant. This is a melee ranged plant, but anything it hits will slow an enemy. So a big trick with this is, even if you don't hit them with the Grasping Roots, if you manage to hit them with one of those plants, you're still going to slow them.
So you can line up a couple plants, throw it down, they dodge it, doesn't matter. Got your plants hitting them, you can still get into that, you still can close the gap a little more.
Yeah. Again, keep in mind that, again, your plants are going to give them a little bit of gold, so don't waste it. And being melee plants, they don't have much range on them. A final ability is the Strangle Thorns. It's kind of a difficult ability to use. You throw it down, it does a nice chunk of damage, and it's a massive area. But it takes about 2 seconds before it actually knocks them up. So it's kind of like, a close range Ziggs bomb or Pantheon ults, I should more say, Pantheon ults, you gotta wait for the real usefulness of it, and people can get out of range before that's gonna happen. If you're going for a burst Zyra, this thing works quite well because it does the damage instantly. But just keep in mind you're not going to actually get any CC control out of her for 2 seconds or so, and if someone's jumping on you, that's not going to help you. The other thing to note is the Strangle Thorns, her ultimate, will not grow the seeds. Anything that has been grown within the area of Strangle Thorns get an attack speed buff, but they will not grow the seeds themselves.
Buff actually is a 50% attack speed buff, which is quite significant. So you can get more of that slow off with your grasp when you grow them. When you grow the seeds with grasping, which you get the slow, you can slow them down quite a lot more because of that 50% slow. Make it even harder for them to get out. Yeah.
It's very useful. You just got to make sure that those seeds are grown before you actually cast the ult. Even if the ult's down, if you grow the seeds afterwards, it's not going to get that buff. Okay. Now, when you're looking at this, there's a few tricks to actually run with Zyra. As I said before, you can plant those seeds at a bit of range, a bit better range than your wards. So it's good for a little bit of extra scouting. If you're not sure if you want to go into a bush, throw a seed down and then instantly throw out Grasping Roots. Because if there's anything in there, they're now caught and going to be slowed, which is a lot more useful than you walking a little bit closer, putting down a ward and having a Jax jump on you and eat your face. So you got to be careful of that, but it has its uses, and you can always just leave the seed there. It will last like 40 seconds or so, 30 seconds, and that's still a little bit of a ward. Someone's still going to have to walk over that if they're walking through the bush, which is useful at times. Now, as I've noted before, both the Deadly Bloom and the Grasping Roots is basically there's a delay on the cast. So like the Deadly Bloom, it takes about half a second before it actually activates. So a good trick with Zyra is you cast the Deadly Bloom first and then cast your seeds on top of it before it pops.
Yes, because the seeds obviously will telegraph when you're about to start casting an ability on top of it. And with the cast time, you got a nice little window where you can drop a couple seeds, and there you go. They didn't have as much notification as they did previously.
Yeah, they've only got that half a second where the Deadly Bloom's actually popped out. And it's always useful to try and, if you're skilled enough, space the seeds out a little bit as well, because that gives you more chance to hit people as they run away. Now the same trick does go for Grasping Roots. You can cast the seeds along the path of the Grasping Roots. You've got to keep in mind that in this case, this means you have to cast those seeds at a fairly external range. Like if you cast it right at your feet after you cast Grasping Roots, it's probably already missed it. So most of the time you're going to want to do that. But one of the other tricks with Zyra is if you're running away from someone who specifically needs movement speed to catch you, think an Udyr or something like that. If you drop a seed, then cast your Grasping Roots towards him, that first seed will turn into one of the Vine Lashes, which is that slow ability, and that's right next to you. So even if you miss him with the Grasping Roots, he's still going to go past that other slow seed to actually get to you. So that's sort of just a little trick you can use with her. You're not going to be able to hold them off very well with it. And if you play Zyra, you'll notice she will do horribly against anyone with a really good gap closer.
Oh yes, of course. Jump on top of her, she hasn't got a lot to get away with. There's nothing that really creates a gap between her and people, like she doesn't have a dash, she doesn't have any kind of flash or some movement speed buff behind her, she's only got her CC capabilities.
And her CC it doesn't last long enough for her to really escape someone.
Well yes, her Grasping Roots starts at 0.75, which is nothing, absolutely nothing, and goes up to 1.75 seconds.
Yeah, and even that slow, it's only going to last a very short time. You're not going to be able to run away from any sort of assassin. The better bet is, if you've got a bit of damage on Zyra, if you throw everything down at once, you have a decent chance to do a nice chunk of damage to them. And you can also remember you still have that passive.
Yes.
So if you end up 1v1 dueling someone and they kill you and they're walking away with a little chunk of health, just shoot them in the back.
Of course. So yeah, they're running at you, you know you're gonna die, just go ahead, drop your seeds, throw your Grasping Roots, and your Deadly Bloom, and throw your ultimate on top of it, just go ham.
Yeah,
because
all out.
You're gonna die anyway, may as well try and get some damage off. If you can force him to back, then you've done something.
Yeah. Now, generally, at the moment, I would suggest with Zyra, you go more for magic penetration than pure AP scaling. That's about as much as I'm going to suggest, mostly because a lot of abilities have a pretty good base damage, and she doesn't have really good scaling.
Yes, she doesn't have any ability that scales 1-to-1 for her ability power. Deadly Bloom, it sits at about 65% of her AP, Grasping Roots is at 50, and her ultimate is at 70%, which is a bit better, but still there's nothing that's hugely benefited by her AP scaling. And her seeds, when you grow them, they only get 20% of AP.
And the other thing you should note as well is that you actually get passive cooldown on her seeds. So you get 2% at the first level, at full level you get 10% cooldown. So keep that in mind, whatever you're building, that you already have 10% cooldown in your kit.
Yes, so you don't have to think, oh man, I need to get all these items for the cooldown reduction. Well, you're already sitting on 10. You're probably sitting on 5 from your masteries, maybe. So just think about how you're spacing your cooldown reduction. Of course, if you need the item and it has cooldown reduction, don't just stop going for it because you're going overboard with the cooldown reduction. It still may be a pretty gold efficient item to go for.
And again, the only other point I make on ideas for builds is you want to be a little defensive. Because as we said before, you get jumped on, you're dead.
Yes.
Building glass cannon, unless you're really good, is not going to help you.
Especially if you're the support. Because you're very gold deprived. If you're going for the heavy AP items like some sort of Zyra mid, then you're probably not going to get anywhere near those. You're probably not going to get that massive power spike till like 50 minutes in the game, and by that point everyone's already probably storming your base because you've just been next to useless.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you're going mid, you still don't want to go pure glass cannon. You can build your good damage, but make sure you got some sort of defenses in there. Otherwise, you're just going to get jumped on, get killed, and you've done nothing.
Yes, so you're looking at a little bit of armor, maybe if something like Frozen Heart, which has that extra passive that slows their attack speed. You know, look at stuff like that, or even the one that comes with the spell shield, the Banshee's Veil. Either going to defend you, or even have that extra little passive to defend you even more.
Now, of course, there's a few little extra things that we'll go over with Zyra. So, as I said before, when you're playing her, you're aiming for harass, especially as a support. You need to remember that you have really long cooldowns on your abilities, and they cost a chunk of mana. So, you want to harass, and it's generally a good idea to try and harass with 2 seeds on every ability you throw out.
Yes, I believe the seeds don't actually cost any mana themselves.
No,
they
are
free. Recharge time.
Yes.
However, your Deadly Bloom starts at 75, and your Grasping Root starts at 70, which is quite a lot. Like, if you're looking for, like, abilities that don't cost much mana, you're looking at abilities that cost around 40 mana. Those are the ones that are really spammable. But 75, 70, that's quite a lot. Most champions only start around a little over 200.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a long cooldown on them as well. You got 7 seconds at first rank to 5 seconds at full rank for Deadly Bloom, and you got 12 seconds at all ranks for Grasping Roots.
Long cooldown.
So yeah, once you throw these things down, you are going to be effectively useless for a good 10 seconds. So this is a key point for Zyra, both when you're playing as her, when you're playing with her, and also when you're playing against her. If she's thrown out those abilities, she's not going to do much for a while.
Same as the Blitzhook mentality. If he misses his pull, he's got nothing behind him for the next 20 seconds while it's on cooldown. The same goes for Zyra, because she's got those such long cooldowns, and she's a bit bursty as well. You know that when she's thrown out the Grasping Root, she's used her Deadly Bloom, she's very vulnerable. It's a good time to return a bit of harassment, because she's got nothing to respond with.
Yeah, so like when you're in lane, if you can catch them well, feel free to use all three. 2 seeds, Grasping Roots, and the Deadly Bloom. If these guys are maneuverable and they're getting away from your abilities, just use one or the other, don't use both. Because especially if you hold on to your Grasping Roots, at least, even if you can't do damage, you can stop them for half a second while you get the heck out of there. Now, this comes under the same thing as if you're an ADC and you have a support Zyra. The bane of a Zyra's existence is an ADC is an ally that goes in after she's thrown out of her abilities, and there's nothing she can do to help him. Because basically, if Zyra's just used all her abilities, if you want to go in, you need to make sure that both A, you can get the heck out of there on your own, or B, you can kill them on your own. Because there's nothing she can do to help you at all for the next 10 seconds. Yeah, it's just... When you're an ADC, you have to remember this is a cooldown-based champion. So it's the same as you said with Blitz. It's the same as if you're playing a Varus or something like that. You need to work around your cooldowns. If you don't work around those cooldowns, don't expect them to be able to do anything for you. Because they can't.
Yes. Okay, one thing I wanted to bring up. Zyra, of course, she grows the plants from the seeds. And I think this is pretty important to keep in mind about it, that the attacks dealt by the grown plants is considered as spell damage when they hit things, which means spell vamp is applied, the slow from Rylai's is applied, but it does not apply on hit effects like Lichbane, Nashor's Tooth. It is also not affected by Jax's Counter-Strike or Teemo's Blind, Fiora's Reposite, or Pantheon's Aegis of Protection.
It will also proc the Liandry's as well.
Yes, it does proc Liandry's Torment. That is true, because it is considered as spell damage.
Yeah. They actually do a good bit of damage on their own too. They're quite good, especially if you've managed to catch them in the roots and keep them slowed with a couple of those Vine Lashes, the melee ones. You will do a nice good chunk of damage to them. But they're not very good at prioritizing. So if it's amongst a bunch of minions, there's a chance they're just going to attack the minions instead of the champions.
And also, because it's spell damage, it will proc spell shields. That includes Banshee's Veil, Siv's Spell Shield, and Nocturne's Spell Shield as well. Those, you can get all that off someone pretty quickly if you grow a couple seeds around them.
But it also means that Morgana is just going to laugh in your face.
Yes, because Morgana's spell shield behaves a lot differently from the other ones. It is an actual shield, like Barrier, except it's a spell shield, which means it only you need to get all that shield off of her before you can deactivate her spell shield.
Yeah. So, like...
Think of it like Sivir's spell shield has, 50 HP or something.
Yeah.
Sivir's spell shield has 1 HP.
Yeah. It's it's very difficult to fight against a Morgana in lane. If you ever do end up against one, you need to be very conservative with your spells. So basically, you try and trick her into using a spell shield, then use a spell. In this case, it would basically be try and cap someone with the Grasping Roots. After the spell shield's down, instantly throw out your Deadly Bloom or something like that.
Yes.
But, you know, you've just lost half your damage at least if you're up against a Morgana. There's not much you can do about that.
Yes. Morgana, of course, the bitch that broke bot lane.
Basically, yeah.
Very hard to play against for a lot of supports, just because she ignores so much CC, and the shield is very difficult to get off because there isn't a lot of magic damage in the bot lane. Zyra being one of the few supports that does put out a decent amount of magic damage, and even then it's still very difficult to knock that spell shield off of her.
Yeah. I mean, even you probably can knock down the spell shield, but by the time you do, the person with the spell shield has walked away from the range of your opponents. So all you've done is use a spell shield, and that cost you more mana than it probably cost her.
Of course, one ability to the two you've been casting. That as we mentioned before, 75 at level 1, 70 at level 1.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Very.
Now, the other point is, as I said before, playing against Zyra. Again, Morgana, great idea. You will just destroy a Zyra as a Morgana. But if she's smart, will try and bait out your shields. So make sure you're being very cautious about using them, because that shield does have a decent cooldown on it.
Yeah.
But as I said before, because Zyra has long cooldowns, try to bait out one of her abilities. If you can dodge something, you can pretty much just jump on her after that. Especially if you miss Grasping Roots, she has pretty much nothing to slow you with. That ultimate has, as I said before, a good delay before it's going to knock you up. So you have a good, nice open window to just jump on her.
Yes. Keep in mind the cooldown is also going on a 130-second cooldown. Even with the passive cooldown reduction she is getting from her W, the seeds, that's still a very long cooldown. So if you know that she's used it in the last fight, then you've got a 3-minute window before she's got it again.
Yeah. Even if she's built 40% cooldown, she's maxed the ability, which would make it 110 seconds, you're still sitting at over a minute. Over a minute before she's going to have it back up. So, basically, that's the most of how you play Zyra. That's what you do. Do you have any minor suggestions you would put in as well, Vic, or?
I don't really have suggestions, but I am interested to know, what kind of AD carries you would generally pick her with.
A good idea with her is basically other cooldown-based champions work really well. Because if you can sync up those cooldowns, you can burst someone down quite well.
So we're going for burst-heavy bot lanes, so I know he's not particularly in favor at the moment, but maybe later down the track. Graves. Very burst-heavy champion. You land that Grasping Root, Graves free reign to land his abilities.
You can also use a Corki or an Ezreal, because they can get into that fight if they want to, or they can get out of that fight if they want to.
Yes.
A Vayne, if she's good, a Vayne is very useful, because if you can lock her down and the Vayne can tumble to an angle to condemn you into a wall, then they're not going to do much.
Yeah. That's more of a lane you think about, you got a partner with and you both know exactly what you're doing, because Vayne, of course, very dangerous pick for the early levels if the enemy knows how to play against a Vayne, because of course she's the squishiest, one of the squishiest champs in the game.
Yeah, the champions you probably don't want to pick Zyra with would be things more like Ashe or even maybe a Tristana. So you don't really want to pick those champions that are all auto attack based, because you don't really lock people down long enough for it to be useful. So yeah. But yeah, it really comes down to how you play. Zyra's really good as a bot lane support, as long as you're not up against Morgana. And oftentimes, you gotta be careful. Your plants are probably going to take some kills. And, you probably have longer range than most of the ADCs you're playing with. Yeah. So, you're likely to take a lot of kills.
Oh yes, Zyra does sit at 575 ranged range on her basic attacks, significantly longer than most ADCs who sit at about 550, unless your name is Caitlyn or Tristana.
Yeah. Even then, by the time Tristana's above 575, you're pretty much out of laning phase anyway. Yeah. Now, Zyra has a couple of little hidden passives, because, they always build in a few for each champion. So, Zyra's are mostly just a couple of jokes. So, you've got if Karthus or Sion is on the enemy team, if you kill them, or they kill you, you get an extra 2 gold. Apparently it's a Plants vs Zombies thing.
Okay, I get the reference, okay.
If Maokai is on your team, he gets 1 point of movement speed. I'm not sure, maybe something about Zyra being looser than Maokai, I don't know.
Well, so it's funny because technically, if you look at the website and their champion profiles, they're listed as rivals, but they help each other out, I guess.
Maybe that's the thing, he's trying to get away from you more.
Plant power or something.
Yeah. And the other one is Leona. If she hits you with her passive, you grow slightly.
Wow.
Unfortunately, if she hits you with your passive, you're probably dead because Leona just jumped on you and you're about to die.
Yeah, that's that's a given.
It's
Actually, that's a question. Can grasping roots actually stop Leona's E, her little jump to you thing?
not that I've seen. It can stop things like a Corki or Tristana jump.
Yes.
I think I've seen it stop a Lee Sin jump, but I've never managed to catch a Leona with grasping roots before, and I've tried. So
it's okay. So I guess Leona's jump is more something that you knock it away with displacement, like Thresh's Flay.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think Leona, you need that knockback ability to stop her. The thing that can really go with Zyra is if you ever use her dance, it's basically the cha-cha. So she does the cha-cha, which is random. And she has a couple of skins. There's not a lot of them actually. I think she's only got 2.
I believe she's only has 2. She got the Halloween one and her release skin.
Yeah. So her release skin is like burning.
She was released with Wildfire Zyra, which is a fire-based skin. And she was also given in Halloween times Haunted Zyra, but we were wrong. She actually has another skin, because apparently SKT were using her quite a lot last year in the World Championships, because she has an SKT T1 Zyra skin as well.
Ah, that's right. Yes, the SKT skin.
Which is currently available for 750 RP, but you'll have to get it quick, because it's going to go away until next World Championships, I presume.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Stars or something.
Yeah, a lot of people really like the Haunted Zyra skin. Mm-hmm. Her seeds are actually tombstones.
Yeah, I saw that. And she grows like zombies and...
Yeah, it's basically like plant zombies that pop out of the ground. So, her tombstone skins, her Haunted Zyra skin's generally considered one of the best. I haven't seen her SKT skin much. She looks very human in that, so if you prefer a humanoid Zyra, I guess you could go for that.
Yes, I guess the idea they had behind the championship skins was the champions cosplaying their the players or something. That was the general idea they had behind them.
They try for that, but that's going to fail every time they have a female champion.
We've just broken the 30-minute mark. I think that was a very good discussion, Tribal. I think so, at least.
Yeah, no, we went through the main things and, beyond a couple of stuff-ups, I think we did fine.
Yep.
And, I hope that helps those that either are playing Zyra or run into her.
Okay, so, people listening, please, jump on Twitter, talk to me, talk to Tribal, and tell us who you want us to talk about as well. Specifically Tribal, because this is his show. It's not my show. I run the show. It's Victor's network, but please, this is TribalMind's show. Please, show him a bit of love. This is the first time he's done a podcast with me, so that's worth a little bit of a clap.
So, and if you want to tweet at me, I am TribalMind1. I'm sure we'll chuck it into the notes or whatever if we bother to chuck notes on this.
Yeah, I've been handling the notes lately. I sort of realized I should start doing that. Anyway, Tribal, your show. You sign us out.
Alright, so this has been TribalMind, and this has been your champion rundown, starring Victor as a guest star. We'll be back in 2 weeks or so, discussing another champion. If nothing else comes up, we'll probably be discussing Remus.
Thank you for listening to the TribalMind Champion Rundown. If you wish to contact TribalMind and ask, hey, TribalMind, I would like you to do this champion at some point, then please feel free to contact Tribal at TribalMind1 on Twitter. And if you would like to contact me, Victor, feel free to look up at Victor Bradley. We will both be there, willing to talk to just about anybody, so please feel free to communicate a little bit. It helps motivate us to make more work, and all feedback is greatly appreciated. Also, feel free to look at our other shows. The Half Hour with Victor show coming out on Tuesdays every week, a few extra minutes show coming out over the weekend, and also LOL in 3 minutes. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much for listening. If you're on YouTube, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a Gakko Pix production.